Captain Kim Tae-ho sat in his chair at the center of the command room. The screens around him showed empty space filled with distant stars. This was Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7, floating far from Earth at the edge of known space. Most nights were quiet here. Too quiet. He looked at his watch. 3 hours left until his shift ended. Behind him, Communications Officer Park So-young worked at her station. Her fingers moved across the controls as she listened to radio signals from across the galaxy. Most of it was normal space traffic, ships talking to ports, planets sending, weather reports. Nothing exciting. Lee Min-ho sat at the translation desk in the corner. He was their alien language expert. When strange signals came in, he figured out what they meant. Tonight he was reading a book and drinking coffee. His translation computer was silent. Kim Tae-ho had been running night shifts for 2 years. Before this job, he flew cargo ships between Earth and Mars. That was boring too, but at least he got to see different places. Here, he just watched screens and waited for something to happen. Something never did. The station was small. Only 12 people worked here at any time. They took turns watching the deep space radio channels. Earth wanted to know if any alien ships were coming their way, or if any new alien groups tried to make contact. So far, nothing much had happened. Park So-young turned in her chair. "Captain, I'm getting some strange signals from the Kepler 442 system." Kim Tae-ho sat up. "What kind of strange?" "Not sure yet. It's very weak, coming from very far away." She put on her headset and listened carefully. "Wait, this doesn't sound like normal space traffic." Lee Min-ho looked up from his book. "Should I take a look?" "Not yet," Kim Tae-ho said. "So-young, can you make it clearer?" Park. So-young worked at her controls. The main screen showed wave patterns jumping up and down. "It's definitely a distress signal, but not from humans. The pattern is all wrong." "Aliens?" Kim Tae-ho stood up and walked to her station. "Has to be. The frequency is strange. And listen to this." She played the audio through the speakers. The sound was unlike anything Kim Tae-ho had heard before. It was musical but sad, like someone singing a funeral song. But underneath the music were clicks and whistles that made no sense. "Min-ho, come listen to this," Kim Tae-ho called. Lee Min-ho hurried over with his coffee. He put on a second headset and closed his eyes to concentrate. After a few minutes, he looked worried. "This is definitely alien. But I recognize some patterns. These might be the Villani." Kim Tae-ho knew that name. The Villani were peaceful plant eaters who lived far from Earth. They were famous for being able to change dead planets into garden worlds. Humans had never met them directly, but other alien groups talked about them sometimes. "What are they saying?" Park So-young asked. Lee Min-ho listened more. His face grew pale. "It's not good. They're asking for help. Someone is attacking their home world." The signal got stronger. Park So-young adjusted her equipment to get a clearer sound. Now they could hear fear in the alien voices. Even though the words were strange, the emotion was clear. Lee Min-ho translated as he listened. "They say ships came from the sky. Big ships with weapons. The attackers are burning their cities." Kim Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. "Are they talking about an invasion?" "Yes. And it sounds like they're losing badly." Lee Min-ho's hands shook as he took notes. They mentioned something called the Krathan Empire. That name made Kim Tae-ho's blood run cold. Every human in space knew about the Krathan. They were war-loving aliens who conquered other planets. They had never attacked humans, but they had destroyed dozens of other alien groups. Park So-young looked up from her station. "Captain, the signal is getting much stronger now. Like they turned up the power on their transmitter." The alien voices became clearer. Even without understanding the words, Kim Tae-ho could hear the panic. There were explosions in the background. Someone was crying. "They're using their emergency beacon," Lee Min-ho said. "This is probably their last working transmitter." The translation came in pieces as Lee Min-ho worked. The Villani were hiding underground. Their space fleet was destroyed. Most of their cities were gone. They had maybe a few thousand people left alive. "Wait," Lee Min-ho said suddenly. "They're talking about children. They have children hiding in deep caves." Kim Tae-ho clenched his fists. The idea of alien children hiding in caves while their world burned made him angry. This wasn't just war. This was murder. The signal changed. A new voice came through. This one was different, colder, harder. "That's not Vellani," Lee Min-ho said. "That's Krathen." The Krathen voice spoke for 30 seconds. Then the signal cut to static. What did they say? Kim Tae-ho asked. Lee Min-ho looked sick. "They said the world is now clean, ready for Krathen use. They're broadcasting their victory to the galaxy." Park So-young stared at her screen. "Sir, the signal is completely dead now. Nothing coming from Kepler 442. Kim Tae-ho stood in silence. In the space of 1 hour, they had listened to an entire alien civilization die. Thousands of years of culture, art, and life had just ended. And nobody else in the galaxy seemed to care. "Min-ho, are you sure about the translation?" "I checked it 3 times. The Vellani sent out a final message before they died. They said, 'If anyone hears this, remember us.'" The control room was quiet except for the hum of computers. Kim Tae-ho looked at his 2 officers. Both of them had tears in their eyes. "What do we do now?" Park So-young asked. Kim Tae-ho walked back to his captain's chair. His hands moved automatically to the communication controls. "We report this to Earth. Right now. Sir, it's the middle of the night back home. I don't care what time it is. Wake up everyone who needs to know." Kim Tae-ho opened a priority channel to Earth. This was only for real emergencies. He had never used it before. "Earth Command, this is Deep Space Station Omega 7. Priority 1 message for Fleet Command and the Alien Relations Department." A tired voice answered. "Omega 7, this is Earth Command Night Watch. What's your emergency?" "We just intercepted the destruction of the Vellani home world. The Krathen Empire killed them all. We have the full recording." There was a long pause. "Did you say the Krathen?" "Yes, sir. They wiped out the entire Vellani civilization. We listened to it happen in real time." Another pause. "Stand by, Omega 7. We're waking up the Admiral." Kim Tae-ho sat back in his chair. He looked at the star chart on the main screen. Kepler 442 was just a dot of light now. But a few hours ago, it had been someone's home. Children had played there. Families had lived and loved there. Park So-young was still recording the static from the dead system. Maybe some of them survived underground. "Maybe," Kim Tae-ho said, but he didn't believe it. The Krathen were known for being thorough. The communication system beeped. A new voice came through from Earth. This one was wide awake and angry. "Omega 7. This is Admiral Wang. Send us everything you have. Full recordings and translations." "Sending now, sir." Kim Tae-ho uploaded their files to Earth. It would take 20 minutes for the signal to reach home. Then the people in charge would decide what to do. Probably nothing, he thought. What could anyone do now? Lee Min-ho was cleaning his glasses with shaking hands. "I keep thinking about those children in the caves." Kim Tae-ho nodded. He was thinking the same thing. Somewhere in the ruins of Kepler 442, alien children might still be hiding in the dark, waiting for parents who would never come back. The communication system beeped again. "Omega 7, continue monitoring. If any more signals come from that system, report immediately." "Yes, sir." But Kim Tae-ho knew no more signals would come. The Krathen had won. Another peaceful world was dead, and the galaxy would keep spinning, like nothing had happened. He looked at his watch. 2 hours left on his shift. It was going to be a very long night. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. 47 different alien species had seats in the Great Hall on Nexus Prime. Each species had their own section designed for their needs. Some needed water tanks. Others breathed different gases. A few could only survive in very cold or very hot areas. Ambassador Choi Hana walked into the human section. She wore her formal blue uniform with Earth's flag on the shoulder. This was only the 3rd emergency session she had attended in 5 years. The last one was about trade routes. This felt much more serious. The council speaker was Thexala, a being made of living crystal. When she spoke, her whole body glowed with soft light. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "The emergency session will begin," Thexala announced. "We are here because of events in the Kepler 442 system." Choi Hana looked around the chamber. Some aliens looked worried. Others seemed bored. A few were not paying attention at all. The Draconian Trade Federation representatives were reading financial reports. 3 days ago, the Vellani homeworld was attacked by the Krathan Empire, Thexala continued. All contact with the planet has been lost. We must decide how to respond. The chamber filled with strange sounds as different species talked among themselves. Some aliens whistled, others clicked or buzzed. The universal translators worked hard to turn everything into understandable speech. An ethereal representative spoke first. The ethereals looked like glowing gas clouds with no solid bodies. "We mourn for the Vellani," the creature said in a voice like whispered wind. "But we cannot fight. We have no weapons, no ships. We exist only in energy form." The aquatic collective sent their thoughts through the water speakers. Their words came out as bubble sounds that the translators changed to speech. "We cannot leave our water worlds. The Kepler system has no oceans suitable for our survival." More aliens gave their excuses. The hive mind clusters were too slow to organize. Their decision-making process took months. The Silicon Valley Federation only cared about computer networks. The Plant Alliance could not survive in space without special soil. Choi Hanna listened to excuse after excuse. These aliens were supposed to be civilized. They had art, science, and culture. But when innocent people needed help, they all found reasons to do nothing. The Draconian Trade Federation representative finally looked up from his financial reports. He was tall and thin with silver skin and black eyes. His voice was cold and businesslike. "The Federation offers to send financial aid to any Vellani survivors," he announced. "We can provide credits for refugee camps and basic supplies." Several aliens nodded approval. They thought money would solve everything. Choi Hanna felt anger growing in her chest. She had read the reports from Deep Space Station Omega-7. The humans had listened to an entire civilization die. Children had been hiding in caves while their world burned. And these aliens wanted to send money. "May I speak?" Choi Hanna stood up. Thexala's crystals glowed brighter. "The human representative has the floor." Choi Hanna walked to the center of the chamber. All the alien eyes, stalks, sensors, and other viewing organs turned to look at her. She felt very small among all these strange beings. "I want to remind everyone what the Vellani did for us," she began. "They changed 12 dead worlds into gardens. 6 species in this room live on planets that the Vellani helped create." Some aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "The Vellani never asked for anything in return," Choi Hanna continued. "They shared their terraforming technology freely. They wanted to help everyone have better worlds to live on." The chamber was quiet now. Even the aliens who had been ignoring the meeting were listening. "And when they needed help, what did we do?" Choi Hanna's voice got louder. "We made excuses. We offered money. We found reasons why we couldn't act." The ethereal representative spoke up. "But what could we do? The Krathan Empire is too strong. They have conquered 43 worlds. No one has ever defeated them. Because no one has ever tried to fight back," Choi Hanna said. "Everyone just watches them destroy civilization after civilization." The Draconian representative looked annoyed. "Violence is not profitable. The Federation prefers peaceful solutions." "There is no peace for the dead," Choi Hanna shot back. "The Vellani children are not interested in your peaceful solutions. They are dead." The chamber erupted in alien discussion sounds. Some species seemed angry at Choi Hanna's words. Others appeared thoughtful. Thexala called for order. "The human makes strong points. But what does Earth propose to do? Humans have never fought the Krathan either." Choi Hanna looked up at the communication screen. Fleet Admiral Yoon Jae-sung appeared on the display. He was calling in from Earth's military headquarters. His face was serious and his uniform was perfectly neat. "Admiral Yoon, please tell the Council what humanity's response will be," Choi Hanna said. Admiral Yoon looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm but firm. "As of 6 hours ago, Earth has deployed our full deep space fleet to the Kepler 442 system." The chamber went completely silent. Every alien stopped moving. "We are sending 127 military vessels," Admiral Yoon continued. "Our mission is to rescue any surviving Vellani and remove the Krathan occupation force." The ethereal representative made a sound like static electricity. "You are actually going to fight them?" "We are going to save whoever we can," Admiral Yoon replied. "And we are going to make sure the Krathen understand that genocide has consequences." The Draconian representative stood up quickly. "This is madness. The Krathen will destroy your entire fleet. Then they will attack Earth." Admiral Yoon's expression did not change. "That is a risk we are willing to take." Thexala's crystals flickered rapidly. "The Council has not authorized military action." Choi Hana looked at the Council speaker. "We are not asking for authorization. We are informing you of our deployment." Several aliens began making upset noises. The hive mind clusters buzzed angry words that came out as static through the translators. "Humans cannot act alone," the Silicon Valley Federation representative said. "This goes against all galactic law." "What law?" Choi Hana asked. "The law that says we should watch innocent people die. The law that says bullies should never face consequences." Admiral Yoon spoke from the screen. "We studied galactic law very carefully. There is nothing that prevents a species from defending itself or its allies." "The Villani are not your allies," the Draconian representative argued. "They are now," Admiral Yoon said simply. The Plant Alliance representative spoke through chemical, sense that the translators turned into words. "This could start a galactic war." "The war already started," Choi Hana replied. "The Krathen have been fighting it for 20 years. We are just the first species to fight back." Thexala tried to restore order, but the chamber was full of arguing voices. Some aliens supported the human action. Others thought it was too dangerous. A few seemed excited that someone was finally going to challenge the Krathen. The Aquatic Collective sent another message through their water speakers. "If humans succeed, what happens next?" Admiral Yoon answered. "If we succeed, the galaxy becomes a safer place for everyone. If we fail, at least we tried to do the right thing." Choi Hana looked around the chamber one more time. "For years, the Krathen Empire has grown stronger because no one opposed them. They count on civilized species being too afraid or too comfortable to fight." She paused to let her words sink in. "Humans are not afraid, and we are not too comfortable to act when children are in danger." The session continued for 2 more hours. Aliens debated and argued and made more excuses. Some promised to send supplies if the humans succeeded. Others warned about the dangers of military action. But Choi Hana knew the important decision had already been made. Somewhere in deep space, human ships were traveling toward a distant world. For the first time in galactic history, someone was going to fight the Krathen Empire. When the session finally ended, Choi Hana walked to the human quarters. She opened a communication channel to Admiral Yoon. "How long until the fleet reaches Kepler 442? She asked. 72 hours, he replied, "assuming the new drive systems work properly." "And if they don't?" Admiral Yoon's face showed the first emotion she had seen from him all day. "Then we arrive too late to help anyone. But we arrive ready to make the Krathen pay for what they did." Choi Hana closed the communication and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those distant lights, human ships were racing toward their first real test. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone finally stood up to the bullies. She just hoped there would be someone left to save when they got there. Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of Luna Naval Yards. Through the massive windows, he could see the largest human fleet ever assembled. Ships stretched out in all directions around Earth's moon. Big ones, small ones, and everything in between. The flagship was the dreadnought Indomitable Spirit. It was as long as 3 city blocks and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Captain Ryu Sung-min commanded it. He was one of the best ship commanders in Earth's military, smaller. Destroyers floated nearby like deadly fish. The carriers held thousands of fighter ships. Support vessels carried supplies, medical equipment, and repair materials. At the edge of the formation, experimental stealth ships tested their invisibility systems. "How many ships total?" Admiral Kang asked his aide. 127 combat vessels, sir, plus 43 support ships." Admiral Kang nodded. It was the biggest military operation since the Centauri border wars. But those had been fights against human pirates. This was different. This time, they were going to fight aliens who had never lost a battle. Captain Ryu Sung-min called from the flagship. His face appeared on the communication screen. Admiral, all ships report ready for departure. Any problems with the new drive systems? Some minor issues. Engineering teams are working on them. Commander Nam Yuri's stealth ship had trouble with power fluctuations, but she says it's fixed now. Admiral Kang had heard about Commander Nam Yuri. She was the best pilot in the experimental ship program. Her vessel, Shadow Walker, used new quantum technology that could make it almost invisible, if it worked properly. What about weapons modifications? Admiral Kang asked. Engineer Oh Kyung-soo has been working on that. He thinks he's found a way to make our weapons more effective against Krathan armor. That was important. Intelligence reports said the Krathan had thick natural armor and backup organs. Normal human weapons might not be enough to stop them. The communication screen switched to show Intelligence Officer Bei Jin-woo. He looked tired. He had been studying Krathan tactics for days without sleep. Sir, I have the final briefing ready for all ship commanders. Send it to everyone. What's the summary? Bei Jin-woo looked at his notes. The Krathan use overwhelming force. They position large ships in orbit and destroy everything on the surface. Then they send troops to clean up any survivors. Success rate? 98%. In 20 years of conquest, only one planet has ever forced them to retreat, and that was because of a plague that killed Krathan but not the local population. Admiral Kang felt his stomach tighten. Those were not good odds. How do they usually respond to space attacks? Captain Ryu asked. They form defensive formations around their command ships. Very disciplined, very organized. They've never faced an opponent with weapons equal to theirs. Engineer Oh Kyung-soo joined the communication. He was covered in grease and looked like he had been working for days straight. Admiral, I think I've solved the armor problem. Explain. Krathan. Armor is designed to stop energy weapons, but their internal organs are vulnerable to kinetic impacts. I've modified our missiles to punch through their armor and explode inside their bodies. Will it work? Oh Kyung-soo shrugged. We'll find out. I've also adjusted our fighters' weapons. If Krathan soldiers board our ships, our people should be able to stop them. Admiral Kang looked at the fleet again. 127 ships, carrying 30,000 human soldiers and crew members. They were about to travel into unknown space to fight an enemy that had never lost. How long until we reach Kepler 442? 3 days if the quantum drives work properly, Captain Ryu replied. 4 days if we have to use backup systems. And what will we find when we get there? Intelligence Officer Bei Jin-woo answered. Long range. Sensors show massive Krathan presence. At least 300 ships, maybe more. They've built orbital stations around the Volani planet. Admiral Kang closed his eyes for a moment. 300 enemy ships against 127 human vessels. The numbers were not in their favor. Any word on Volani survivors? Unknown. If anyone is still alive, they're probably underground. The surface of their planet shows signs of massive bombing. Captain Ryu's face was grim. Sir, are we sure about this mission? Admiral Kang looked at his officers. These were good people, smart people. They knew this might be a suicide mission, but they were ready to go anyway. Let me ask you something, Admiral Kang said. If aliens attacked Earth and killed most of humanity, what would you want other species to do? Help us, Captain Ryu answered immediately. Fight for us, Commander Nam Yuri added from her stealth ship. Remember us, Engineer Oh Kyung-soo said quietly. That's why we're going, Admiral Kang said. Because it's the right thing to do. The fleet began moving. Engines lit up across the formation as ships prepared for the jump to hyperspace. The BS quantum drives made a humming sound that could be felt through the hull of every vessel. Admiral Kang moved to his command ship, the battlecruiser Determination. It was smaller than the flagship, but faster and more heavily armed. His job was to coordinate the entire fleet during combat. As they traveled through hyperspace, more intelligence reports came in. Long-range sensors detected additional Krathan. Forces moving toward Kepler 442. The enemy was bringing reinforcements. How many more ships? Admiral Kang asked. At least 50, maybe 75, Bei Jin-woo reported. They're coming from 3 different directions. The numbers kept getting worse. By the time the human fleet arrived, they might face 400 enemy vessels. Captain Ryu called from the flagship. Admiral, some of my officers are asking questions about our chances. What kind of questions? They want to know if we have any backup plans, any way to retreat if things go badly. Admiral Kang thought about that. He could order the fleet to turn around. They could go home to Earth and report that the mission was too dangerous. Everyone would understand. The smart thing would be to retreat. But then he thought about the recording from Deep Space Station Omega 7. The voices of dying Villani asking someone to remember them. The children hiding in caves while their world burned. "Tell your officers this," Admiral Kang said. "We are not going to Kepler 442 to win a battle. We are going to do what's right. If we save one Villani child, the mission is a success. And if we all die trying? Then we die knowing we stood up for innocent people. That's better than living knowing we did nothing." The communication went quiet for a moment. Then Captain Ryu smiled. "I'll pass that along, sir." Commander Nam Yuri's voice came through from the Shadow Walker. "Admiral, my stealth systems are working perfectly now. I'll be able to scout their positions before the main fleet arrives." "Good. What's your mission plan?" "Get close to the planet. Look for Villani survivors. Find the best way to extract them. And identify Krathan weak points for the main attack." Engineer Oh Kyung-soo reported that weapons modifications were complete. Every ship has the new anti-Krathan missiles. Fighter weapons are upgraded. If we're going to hurt them, this is our best shot. On the second day of travel, they received more bad news. Deep space sensors detected Krathan planet killer weapons in the Kepler system. These were massive devices that could destroy entire worlds. "Are they planning to blow up the planet?" Admiral Kang asked. "Possibly. Or they might be using them as a threat to make sure no one interferes with their occupation." The third day brought the worst news yet. Krathan reinforcements had arrived at Kepler 442. The enemy fleet now numbered over 400 ships. The human force was outnumbered almost 4-1. Admiral Kang called a meeting of all ship commanders. Their faces appeared on screens throughout his command center. "You all know the numbers," he said. 400 Krathan ships against our 127. They have planet killers. They have experience. They have every advantage except one. "What's that?" Captain Ryu asked. "They think they've already won. They think no one will ever challenge them. They've gotten comfortable with victory." Commander Nam Yuri spoke up. "Sir, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to win battles against superior numbers. How?" "We don't fight fair," she said with a grin. "Engineer." Oh Kyung-soo nodded agreement. "Krathan tactics are based on overwhelming force, but our tactics are based on cunning and surprise. Admiral," Kang looked at his officers. "These people were ready to fight impossible odds for strangers they had never met. They were ready to die for people they would never see again. Prepare for battle," he said. "We arrive at Kepler 442 in 6 hours. The fleet began final preparations. Weapons were loaded. Fighters were fueled. Medical bays prepared for casualties. Engineers checked every system twice. Admiral Kang stood on his bridge and watched the stars. Soon they would find out if humanity could keep its promise to the dead Villani. Soon they would learn if one species could make a difference in a galaxy. Full of bullies, the quantum drives began to slow down. They were almost there. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they saw made everyone's blood run cold. The Villani homeworld was burning. Even from millions of kilometers away, they could see fires covering entire continents. The planet's blue-green surface was now black and red. Smoke clouds covered half the world. Around the dying planet, Krathan ships formed perfect formations. The alien vessels looked like giant metal spiders with weapons pointing in every direction. There were so many ships that they blocked out the stars. Captain Ryu Sung-min counted them from the flagship bridge. "I see 327 enemy vessels, plus orbital platforms, plus what looks like mining equipment." Admiral Kang Do-hyun studied the tactical display. "They're not just occupying the planet. They're harvesting it." Intelligence Officer Bae Jin-woo pointed to the screen. "Those large ships are resource extractors. They're sucking up everything useful on the surface." Commander Nam Yuri's stealth ship was already moving toward the planet. Her voice came through the communication system. "I'm going in for a closer look. See if I can find any Villani survivors." The Shadow Walker disappeared from all sensors as its quantum cloak activated. Even the human ships could not track it now. Admiral Kang looked at his fleet formation. 127 ships against over 300 enemies. The smart thing would be to retreat. The safe thing would be to go home. But on his command screen, he could see the dying world. Somewhere down there, Villani children might still be hiding in caves, waiting for help that might never come. All ships, prepare for battle, Admiral Kang ordered. The Krathen noticed the human fleet immediately. Alarms began sounding on their ships. Weapons turned toward the newcomers. The spider-like vessels started moving into attack positions. Captain Ryu called from the flagship. "Sir, they're forming defensive formations around their command ships, just like intelligence predicted." "Good. That means they're following their usual tactics." "Engineer O, are your weapons ready?" Engineer O Kyung-soo answered from the weapons systems room. "All ships have the modified missiles. Fighter weapons are upgraded. We're as ready as we can be." The Krathen fleet began advancing. Their ships moved in perfect lines like soldiers marching. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Admiral Kang had studied every battle the Krathen had ever fought. They always used the same strategy: overwhelming firepower, perfect formations, methodical destruction of the enemy. But they had never fought humans before. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," Admiral Kang ordered. The human fleet suddenly scattered in every direction. Ships dove up, down, left, and right. There was no formation, no pattern. It looked like complete panic. The Krathen were confused. Their computers could not predict where the human ships would go next. They had never seen such random movement. Captain Ryu led the first attack. The flagship and 12 destroyers charged straight at the center of the Krathen formation. Their weapons fired the new modified missiles. The missiles punched through Krathen armor like it was paper. Instead of exploding on the surface, they went deep inside the alien ships before detonating. The results were devastating. 3 Krathen vessels exploded immediately. 2 more lost power and began drifting. The perfect enemy formation started to break apart. "It's working!" Engineer Oh Kyung-soo shouted. "The kinetic penetrators are going right through their armor." But the Krathen recovered quickly. They returned fire with energy weapons that lit up space like lightning. Human ships took heavy damage. The destroyer Braveheart was cut in half. The cruiser Thunder lost its main engines. Admiral Kang watched his tactical display. "Release the fighters." Thousands of small human ships poured out of the carriers. They swarmed toward the Krathen fleet like angry insects. The enemy had never seen so many small, fast targets. Pilot Han Woo-jin led the first fighter squadron. His job was to target Krathen weapon systems. But as he got close to an enemy ship, he made a decision that surprised everyone. Instead of firing his weapons, he aimed his fighter directly at the Krathen command bridge. At the last second, he activated his ejection seat and jumped to safety. His fighter smashed into the alien ship and exploded. The Krathen vessel lost all its command systems. It spun out of control and crashed into another enemy ship. "Did Han just ram them?" Captain Ryu asked in amazement. "All fighter pilots, you saw what Han did," Admiral Kang announced. "But only do it if you can safely eject first." More human fighters began kamikaze attacks against Krathen ships. But they were smart about it. Pilots waited until the last moment to eject. Most of them survived to be picked up by rescue ships. The Krathen had never faced this kind of tactics. Their computers could not calculate how to defend against pilots who were willing to crash their ships into enemy targets. Commander Nam Yuri's voice came through from her stealth ship. "Admiral, I've found them. There are Villani survivors." "How? Many?" "At least 12,000. They're in underground shelters on the main continent, but the shelters are damaged. They won't last much longer." "Can we extract them?" "Not while the Krathen control orbital space. We need to clear out at least 50 enemy ships to make a safe corridor." Admiral Kang looked at the battle display. The human fleet was fighting. Well, but they were still outnumbered. 50 Krathen ships would be hard to destroy. "All ships, focus fire on the orbital control group," he ordered. The human fleet changed tactics again. Instead of scattered attacks, they concentrated all their firepower on one section of the enemy formation. It was dangerous because it made them easier targets, but it was the only way to punch through. Captain Ryu led the assault. The flagship charged into the middle of the Krathen formation with guns blazing. Destroyers followed close behind. Fighters swarmed around the big ships like protective clouds. The battle became a nightmare of explosions and laser fire. Human ships took terrible damage, but they kept fighting. The cruiser Steadfast lost half its weapons, but kept firing with what was left. The destroyer, Quick Strike, had its engines destroyed, but used its thrusters to ram an enemy vessel. Marine Colonel Song Hye-jin was waiting for her chance. When the flagship got close to a Krathen command ship, she led a boarding party across the gap between vessels. Human Marines had never fought Krathen soldiers before. The aliens were bigger and stronger than humans. Their natural armor could stop bullets, but the Marines had something the Krathen did not expect. "Use the new weapons!" Colonel Song shouted as her team fought through alien corridors. The modified human weapons worked perfectly. Instead of trying to punch through Krathen armor, they sent shockwaves through the aliens' bodies. The Krathen soldiers collapsed as their internal organs were damaged. In 20 minutes, Colonel Song's Marines captured the Krathen command ship. They downloaded the aliens' tactical data and sent it to the human fleet. "Admiral, we have their battle plans," Colonel Song reported. "They're planning to destroy the planet if they can't hold it." That changed everything. The Krathen would rather kill everyone than let the humans rescue the Villani survivors. "How long do we have?" Admiral Kang asked. "Maybe 2 hours. They're moving planet-killer weapons into position." Commander Nam Yuri called from near the planet's surface. "I can get the Villani out, but I need more time, at least 4 hours to safely evacuate 12,000 people." Admiral Kang made the hardest decision of his military career. "All ships, we hold this position no matter what. We give Nam Yuri the time she needs." Captain Ryu understood immediately. "Sir, that means fighting, until most of us are dead." "I know." The human fleet formed a protective wall between the Krathen planet killers and the evacuation site. They knew they could not win. They knew most of them would die. But they would buy time for innocent people to escape. The next 2 hours were the bloodiest in human space combat history. Ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. The flagship lost half its weapons. 3 carriers were turned into floating wreckage. Dozens of destroyers and cruisers were gone, but the human fleet held their position. Engineer Oh Kyung-soo worked frantically to keep weapons functioning on damaged ships. "If we can hold for 2 more hours, the evacuation will be complete." "Admiral..." Kang looked at his tactical display. Only 43 human ships were still combat-capable. They faced over 200 Krathen vessels. "All remaining ships, prepare for final assault," he ordered. The last human ships charged directly at the Krathen planet killers. They had no hope of survival, but if they could damage or destroy those weapons, the Villani would be safe. "Captain." Ryu's flagship was burning from a dozen holes, but it still had guns. "For the children in the caves!" he shouted as he led the final attack. The remaining human ships smashed into the Krathen formation like a hammer. Explosions lit up space as vessels on both sides were destroyed. And then, suddenly, the battle changed. Krathen ships began retreating. The enemy formation fell apart as alien vessels fled toward the edge of the system. "What's happening?" Admiral Kang asked. Intelligence Officer Bei Jin-woo checked his sensors. "Sir, Krathen reinforcement fleets are turning around. They're not coming to help. They're running away." Commander Nam Yuri called from the planet's surface. "Evacuation complete. All Villani survivors are safe." Admiral Kang could not believe it. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had defeated the Krathen Empire. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Kepler 442. The galaxy was a very different place now. Captain Kim Tae-ho, now promoted to Admiral, stood in his new office on Earth. Through the window, he could see the expanded Luna naval yards. More ships were being built every day. The Terran response fleet was growing larger and stronger. On his desk were reports from across known space. 3 more species had asked for human protection against aggressive neighbors. 2 others wanted to join the new military alliance. Even some former enemies were requesting peace talks. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, Ambassador Choi Hana is here for the meeting." Choi Hana entered wearing her diplomatic uniform. She looked tired but happy. Running the new Deathworld alliance was hard work, but it was worth it. "How many members do we have now?" Admiral Kim asked. 14 species have joined the alliance," she replied, "including some I never expected. The Ethereal Collective figured out how to make energy weapons. The Aquatic Federation designed new water-capable warships. And the Villani, Choi Hana, smiled. They're doing well on New Garden World. Their leader, Salenthi, wants to thank you personally. She says human kindness saved her people's future. Admiral Kim nodded. The Volani refugees had been given a beautiful planet in human space. They were already turning it into a paradise with their terraforming skills. Volani children were playing in gardens where once there had been only rock and sand. What about the Krathan Empire? Falling apart, Choi Hana said with satisfaction. After they lost at Kepler 442, 6 of their subject species rebelled. The Empire is fighting civil wars on 12 different worlds. Admiral Kim had been following those reports. Species that had been enslaved for decades were finally fighting back. They knew that humans would help them if they asked. Any requests for assistance? 17 so far. The Zephyrian people want help removing Krathan occupation forces from their moon colonies. The Coral Reef Federation is asking for protection while they rebuild their military. A communication alert sounded. Admiral Kim opened the channel. Captain Ryu Sung-min appeared on the screen. He was still commanding the rebuilt flagship Indomitable Spirit. Admiral, we have a new situation, Captain Ryu reported. Deep space sensors are picking up distress signals from the Omega Centauri region. What kind of distress signals? Multiple species under attack. The signals are coming from 6 different star systems, all being attacked by something called the Shadow Dominion. Admiral Kim felt familiar anger rising in his chest. Just like the Krathan, another group of bullies was attacking peaceful worlds. What do we know about this Shadow Dominion? Commander Nam Yuri's face appeared on a second screen. She was leading the new reconnaissance division. Not much, sir. They seem to use stealth technology like my ship, but bigger. Much bigger. How big? Their ships are the size of small moons. They appear suddenly, destroy everything, then disappear. No one has ever seen them coming. Ambassador Choi Hana looked, worried. This could be worse than the Krathan. At least we could see them coming. Admiral Kim studied the star charts. Omega Centauri was far from Earth. Very far. It would take months for human ships to reach the area. How many species are under attack? At least 8, Captain Ryu replied. Maybe more. The distress signals are very weak. These people are dying fast. Engineer Oh Kyung-soo joined the communication. He was now head of military research and development. Sir, I might have a solution. We've been working on new hyperspace drives, much faster than anything we used before. How much faster? We could reach Omega Centauri in 3 weeks instead of 3 months. What's the catch? Oh Kyung-soo looked uncomfortable. The drives are experimental. They might work perfectly, or they might explode and kill everyone on the ship. Admiral Kim thought about the choice. Use untested technology to help strangers they had never met. Risk human lives for people they would never see again. It was exactly the same choice they had faced at Kepler 442. How many ships can you equip with the new drives? 50 vessels. Our newest and best ships. Do it. Ambassador Choi Hana looked surprised. Are you sure? We don't know anything about these Shadow Dominion forces. We didn't know anything about the Krathan either, Admiral Kim replied. But we knew they were hurting innocent people. That was enough. Captain Ryu nodded. Agreement. Sir, my ship will be ready in 48 hours. Mine too, Commander Nam Yuri added. The stealth fleet is prepared for long-range operations. Admiral Kim opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council. Thexala's crystal form appeared. On the screen, Speaker Thexala, humanity is deploying forces to the Omega Centauri region. We're responding to distress calls from multiple species. The Council Speaker's crystals flickered rapidly. That region is very far from Earth. Why would humans travel such a distance? Because someone needs help, Admiral Kim said simply. The Council has not authorized this action. We're not asking for authorization. We're informing you of our deployment. It was the same conversation they had had 1 year ago, but this time, other voices spoke up. The ethereal representative appeared on screen. The collective will send support ships. The Aquatic Federation added, our new water-capable vessels are ready to deploy. One by one, Alliance members pledged. Ships and crews for the mission. Thexala's crystals glowed brighter. This is unprecedented. Multiple species volunteering for dangerous military action. It's called doing the right thing, Ambassador Choi Hana said. You should try it sometime. The mission preparations took 2 weeks. 50 human ships were equipped with experimental drives. Alliance members contributed another 30 vessels. Engineering teams worked around the clock to integrate different technologies. On the day of departure, Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of his command ship. Around him, the new Terran response fleet prepared for their longest journey yet. "Captain," Ryu called from the flagship. "All ships report ready, sir. Commander Nam Yuri, stealth ships prepared. Ready to scout ahead, sir." Engineer Oh Kyung-soo's voice was nervous. "Sir, I still can't guarantee the new drives will work." Only one way to find out. The fleet activated their experimental hyperspace drives. Instead of the usual gentle acceleration, the ships shot forward like bullets. Space stretched and twisted around them as they traveled faster than any vessels in galactic history. 3 weeks later, they arrived at Omega Centauri. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. Entire star systems were dark. Planets had been stripped of all life. Space was full of debris from destroyed civilizations. But in the distance, they could see lights. Some worlds were still fighting. Some people were still alive. Commander Nam Yuri's stealth ship detected the Shadow Dominion fleet. The enemy vessels were indeed huge, like floating cities made of black metal. They moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. "Admiral," Captain Ryu called, "we're receiving new distress signals. Multiple species are asking for help." Admiral Kim looked at the tactical display. The Shadow Dominion had hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. They had technology humanity had never seen before. It was another impossible fight against overwhelming odds. "All ships, prepare for combat," Admiral Kim ordered. "We came here to help people. That's exactly what we're going to do." The Alliance fleet spread out across the star system. Human ships, ethereal energy vessels, aquatic Federation cruisers, and a dozen other designs worked together like a single unit. "This is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of the Terran Response Fleet," he broadcast on all frequencies. "To any civilians in this system, help has arrived. We are here to protect you." The response was immediate. Grateful voices in dozens of languages flooded. The communication channels, species they had never heard of, thanked them for coming. Children's voices could be heard crying with relief. "Admiral," Commander Nam Yuri reported, "Shadow Dominion ships are moving toward us. They don't look happy." Admiral Kim smiled. "Good. Let them come. It's time the galaxy learned something important." "What's that, sir?" "Bullies might be strong, but people who fight for others are stronger." The Battle of Omega Centauri was about to begin, and somewhere in the distant regions of space, new distress signals were already being received by listening posts. The galaxy was learning that someone would always answer when innocent people called for help. The age of the Deathworlders had truly begun. Admiral Kim opened a final communication to all ships. "Remember why we're here. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting because it's right. We're fighting because someone has to stand up for people who can't protect themselves. And if we die trying, then we die knowing we made the galaxy a better place. That's all anyone can ask for." The Alliance fleet charged toward the Shadow Dominion vessels. Behind them, grateful civilizations watched in amazement as strangers risked everything to save them. In the deep space monitoring stations scattered across the galaxy, human operators listened for new distress signals. When they found them, the Terran response fleet would answer, because someone had to, because it was the right thing to do, because humans had learned something important during those long nights listening to dying civilizations. Sometimes the only thing standing between innocence and evil is the willingness to fight for strangers, and humans would always be willing to fight.